Nice guy.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for what would normally be our regular village board meeting. We, on March 14th, 2023, prior to the start of the village board meeting, we will open with a public hearing for this evening. With that, it's public hearing for annexation agreement between the village of Shorewood and the Troy Fire Protection District with respect to property located in unincorporated Kendall County with a mailing address of 748 Jones Road, Minooka, Illinois. The parcel number is noted in the docket. With that, I will turn it over to the attorney who can give a little bit of a brief summary for the board.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. This is an annexation agreement that's a little unusual and different from any annexation agreement that the village has done in the past. And that's because it's an agreement that will actually allow the village to enforce its ordinances on property before it becomes actually annexed by the village. There's a provision in the Illinois Municipal Code that says that if property is subject to an annexation agreement with the village and located in certain counties in the state, that it can be treated as if it were within the village for purposes of enforcing village codes and ordinances. So that statute then has been around for quite a while, and back in, I think, 2005 or so, it was challenged down in Springfield and eventually went to the Illinois Supreme Court. In the Illinois Supreme Court, in a case called Sangamon or Chatham, Village of Chatham versus Sangamon County, the Illinois Supreme Court said that, yeah, the statute is what it is, and it says what it says. If it's located in this case in Kendall County, and it's subject to an annexation agreement by the village can control the property the same as if it were annexed for really everything but taxes, which is kind of the downside of it. But for tonight's purpose, it's fire district, so it doesn't really matter. It would be tax exempt anyway. So we put together an annexation agreement that would allow the village and the fire district to enter into this agreement and for the village to actually rezone the property to the R1 district and grant a conditional use permit to allow the use as a public facility, a fire station, along with some ancillary uses. They have some storage buildings out there, a proposed safety tower, and a couple other buildings that they would like to build, a couple other structures. As you might be aware, this property has about 25 acres. It's located out on Jones Road and Jones and County Line, I think. Yeah, just west of the county line at Jones Road, so it's in Kendall County. It was formerly a church. Many, many years ago, the village had an annexation agreement with a church. I believe that's expired or possibly was never actually finished and entered into. So the agreement recognizes that it's a Chatham annexation and that the village will exercise its ordinances and control out there the same as if it were in the village. And Kendall County is aware of this process going on, and Kendall County supports this process. The fire district, when they originally bought the property, got a special use permit from Kendall County, and one of the provisions in that special use permit required them to work with the village to come up with an annexation agreement. So that's what brings us here tonight. It's been a while, but we've worked with the fire district and have a draft of an annexation agreement. Nothing to vote on tonight, but just to conduct the public hearing. When the property becomes contiguous to the village, they will file a petition and it will be annexed. The Planning and Zoning Commission has or will hear a public hearing to rezone the property and grant a conditional use permit and certain variances that are required by the fire district. The village has no sanitary sewer or water services out there now. The agreement provides that when the village services become available within 200 feet of the property, that the fire district will hook on to the sanitary sewer and or the water as they get there. There is a site plan that's preliminary in nature that would be approved through this process, and then it would be finalized with village staff. I think there's a few more things that maybe touch on that will need to be resolved.
The conditional use will go to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at the public hearing at the next meeting.
which is the 22nd. There's a couple of variances they're also requesting that we'll talk about. One is the variance to the height of the structure because of the fire training tower. It's a little bit taller than is required. And another one is basically to allow them to use the front and side yards for things that aren't principal uses, because they'll have a dock for some training and things like that in there. But otherwise, it's pretty straightforward.
The agreement provides that there aren't any road requirements involved. Jones Road is the road that fronts it. That's within the jurisdiction of the city of Joliet, so whatever has to be resolved with regard to Jones Road, the fire department will have to work with the city on. The fire department will grant an easement to the village for over the stormwater areas and also along the street frontage. The village would waive its fees, sewer water tap-on fee and its development fees, building permit fees, et cetera, and would only look to the fire department for reimbursement of out-of-pocket expenses. We have an ordinance which already waives building permit fees and sewer and water tap-on fees for other government units. We just expanded that a little bit with the other development fees, which I talked to Natalie about, and they're fairly minimal. And the fire department gave the village, I think, the same courtesy at the Public Works facility. That's really the gist of the annexation agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions. As I said, no action will be taken tonight at a future board meeting. Probably the next meeting will have an ordinance to approve the annexation agreement and also an ordinance to confirm the R1 zoning district and grant the conditional use permit after it goes through Plan Commission. Happy to answer any questions, and also we should open it up to the public for comments.
Yeah, I got one.
Yep, go ahead.
Dave, does this open the door for anybody to do that kind of annexation?
If you want them to.
No, what I'm talking about is Manuka or Joliet.
Yeah. Any property, once you get out there, you can do it almost anywhere in the state. Around this area, and what's critical to us is you can't do it in the collar counties. So you can't do it in any of the collar counties, but Kendall is not considered a collar county. So they could, Joliet could do it, Manuka could do it. It's been around for a while. It's used occasionally.
Well, yeah, occasionally.
Yeah.
I think you use that term, right? Because it starts to get sloppy annexations.
Well, that was Sangamon County's argument in the Supreme Court.
That was who?
Sangamon County argued that all the way to the Supreme Court, essentially. That,
Well, eventually, one day, you could start to see islands, Manuka annexes.
So what they did, Mr. Chapman, is that the legislature constricted the right a little bit. When events, because there were some towns that were like entering annexation agreements with property that was way far afield. It wasn't likely to ever even get annexed, but they saw it as a way to grant a permit or something for, I'll call it a friendly developer or whatever. So the legislature did crack down on it a little bit, and they said that if the property's not located within 1.5 miles of your current jurisdictional limits, then the county can adopt an ordinance that basically negates this. If this property were more than 1.5 miles, Kendall County could adopt an ordinance that said, look, we don't want any municipalities, using this Chatham control within our county, and so you wouldn't be able to do that. But Kendall County hasn't done that, and they've allowed it in a number of instances.
And there's actually a document somewhere that Kendall County has agreed to this from us.
I don't know that there's a document. They're certainly aware of it, and they have not objected to it.
Right. I did reach out to Kendall County, and they didn't have an objection. Quite frankly, they actually recommended it. The staff anyways recommended it to us, so that way we would have the ability to review their engineering plans based on the Will County Stormwater Ordinance, which is what Shorewood adopts, instead of doing it based on the Kendall County Stormwater Ordinance. So that way, when it did come to the village, it would be conforming.
Has Manuka put any input into this?
It's in our planning area. I mean, there's still, you wouldn't be able to, Manuka or Joliet or Shorewood or any other community wouldn't be able to violate their planning and border agreements. So it's consistent with, that it's going to be in our planning area eventually, so I doubt that we probably never notified Manuka or had any conversations with them about it. There'd be no reason to.
Yeah,
Manuka's corporate limits are more than 1.5 miles from this property's location.
south.
Yeah, on our side of the boundary agreement.
Yes.
So when the Troy Fire District purchased the property and applied for the conditional use permit with Kendall County did reach out to Shorewood and to Joliet to confirm that it would be in Shorewood's planning boundary. So they at least were aware of that when the county was talking about doing the original conditional use permit for the fire department. And then the annexing to the village was part of that requirement as well. So they were involved at least a little bit.
Yeah, it's fine, it's beneficial to us,
Yeah.
I'm looking at what can happen in the
Kendall County's
future.
done this. I used to represent the village of Oswego in a prior life, and we did a number of them out there. And Kendall County's always been respectful of it, and they're probably more aware of it than anybody around.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any
At this-
board members?
At this point, isn't that road, whether it be 10 or 20 years from now, isn't south of there is Shorewood, north of there is Joliet?
Yes.
Yep.
And the road
With
itself
the
is in
handshake
Joliet.
agreement that we have right now?
That's through the boundary agreement.
Okay,
Jones Road is the dividing line.
all right. Okay, very good.
Us entering into this doesn't affect what other people can do, whether we do it or not. I mean, someone else could still annex it under the Chatham agreement, whether we do this or not.
Well, if they did, they would violate their boundary agreement with us. We have a boundary agreement with Joliet, boundary agreement with Manuka. Those would be the only ones. I mean, Joliet is obviously close because it's right next door, but.
But if the boundary agreements expire, then they could annex it.
Well, they'd have to forcibly annex them because the fire district has an agreement with
us,
Shorewood to
okay.
annex only to us. So if Joliet may be able to forcibly annex them, I suppose, but that's pretty unlikely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none, the chief from the fire district is here. Chief, anything you want to add to that? All right, with that, this will go to the planning and zoning on the 22nd for the public hearing and their review on that. And with that, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Kirkland, second Luciano. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes?
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, and with that, I ask everybody join me so we can start the Pledge of Allegiance and join the regular village board meeting. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lana, roll call, please.
Mayor DeBold. Here. Trustees Carroll,
Here.
Chapman,
Here.
Kirkland,
Here.
Luciano.
Yes, here.
Selfridge,
Here.
and Brockman.
Here.
All right, seeing everybody is here, we can have a quorum, we can move on with the regular village board meeting. Are there any citizens wishing to address the village board this evening? Seeing none, we'll move into this evening's consent agenda. Item number 1 is approval of the regular meeting minutes from February 28th, 2023. Approval of the committee of the whole meeting minutes, February 28th, 2023. Approval of the executive session meeting minutes from May 10 and July 26, 2022. Approval of destruction of audio recordings for released executive session meetings for 2021. Approval of accounts payable in the amount of $675,894.05. Approval in the payment in the amount of $20,855 to M.E. Simpson for the leak survey. Approval of the payment in the amount of $12,703 for Stantec, worked on the water sewer rate study. Approval of payment in the amount of $23,501.78 to Arbortech Landscape for tree pruning. And finally, approval of the payment in the amount of $6,470 to Seco Consultants for geotechnical reports at Rivers Edge Park. Are there any items that a member has a questions or needs further information?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion Luciano, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Chapman?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
And Carroll.
All right, consent agenda is approved. We'll move into reports, communications. I don't have anything exhilarating for this evening. Lon, was there anything that we received in the
No,
mail
sir.
that you need to pass? Thank you. With that, we will move right on to this evening's order of business. First item for order of business is consideration for approval of a resolution approving a highway authority agreement and a supplemental agreement with the BP Amico. With this, I'll leave it to Ms. Engel and Attorney Silverman.
There. In the 1990s, there were two leaking underground storage tanks at BP Amico, the one that's on East Jefferson Street. Due to the contamination that occurred, they had to do some remediation. They had some wells that were put in, and they've been cleaning up the groundwater and the soil there. They've now reached a point where they're ready for the letter of no further remediation from the state, and there are a couple things that they have to do in order to accomplish it. They have to essentially pass an ordinance that talks about our groundwater and not being able to use wells within a certain distance, and it basically includes those couple of properties that are right adjacent to BP Amico and a little bit on the south side of Jefferson Street. They also have to enter in a highway authority agreement with us that talks about the fact that there is some residual contamination on the site, and in the event that we do work, we need to be aware of it, and they've got some liability to be able to help us with any of the costs if it needs to be fixed, or soils need to be transported off-site or anything like that. I'm sure Dave is much better versed at that than I am. And then we have Kim here from Pioneer Engineering, who represents the original owner of the property, who owned the property when the contamination occurred, who prepared the documents and has been working with the state and the village, and the owners of BP, who can answer any questions and much more eloquently speak about the technical aspects of the contamination and the remediation.
Dave, anything you want to summarize maybe on that?
No, I think Natalie did a good job. The one thing I'd add probably is, in addition to the highway authority agreement, we also have included what we call a supplemental agreement, and it's essentially an indemnification agreement from the folks who caused the contamination. If the village incurs any cost, expenses, or damages because of that, because of the road work we have to do down there, they will indemnify us for that.
I probably also should have pointed out the road, the highway authority that we have is over the frontage road, and they'll be getting a similar highway authority agreement signed with IDOT on Jefferson Street.
It's a couple times that I can remember. One was like at 59 and East Shore Drive. There used to be a gas station at 52 and 59, and there were some leaking tanks there, and there was some contamination around Route 59 and East Shore Drive. Also, the Troy School District fire bus barn over on Earl Road, we had the same thing. There was a leaking underground storage tank there, and we entered into similar agreements with them.
Anybody have any questions for Dave, Natalie, or representative?
I have one there. For the indemnity, is there a bond or an insurance policy that goes with that? Like, how many years down the road?
No, there's really not. It's only as good as the company that stands behind it, the corporation. So there is no bond. I mean, we don't really anticipate any problems arising from it. We have no real work planned in the area that's covered by it. So there's.
Because it wouldn't really be village costs, it'd probably be whoever's developing that property and owns that property?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Unless we did a road project out there or something, but, it might be more relevant from the state. There's just a tiny bit of right-of-way of the frontage road, as I recall, that's involved with it. It's mostly going to be a state issue.
Does this stay in effect if they change ownership as well?
Yeah, this actually, the agreement is with the company who caused the contamination, who owned the property at the time the tanks were leaking. So that's who the agreement's with, and that's who it'll stay with.
Anybody else have any additional questions?
I move to approve a resolution approving a highway authority agreement and a supplemental agreement with BP Amico, regarding BP Amico.
Second.
Motion Kirkland, second Luciano. Roll call, please.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
All right, item number one's been approved. Item number two is the consideration for approval of an ordinance prohibiting the use of certain property of groundwater as potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or other methods, and waive the second read. This goes over to Ms. Engel. Obviously, this is just in regards to the property we just discussed, but she can further elaborate.
Right, and this is really, the two ordinances are, or the two legislations are tied in. The second one is for the potable water, so basically, you can't sink a well on this property or next to it or a little bit across the street. And that's actually, BP Amico, the existing property owner, fell under this situation, and they actually had to bring a line to connect up to village water because of the well restriction.
Anybody have any questions regarding the ordinance? If not, we'll take a motion to approve.
Move to approve an ordinance prohibiting the use of certain property of groundwater as potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or other methods, and waive the second reading.
Motion Kirkland, second Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Kirkland.
Yes.
All right, item number two has been approved. Item number three will be consideration for approval of a bid award to PT Farrell Construction for the 2023 MFT resurfacing project in the amount of $975.08, and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents. Public Works Director Noriega.
Thank you, Mayor. So our resurfacing contract this year targets approximately 5 miles of roadways. We're looking at roadways in the Breckenridge subdivision, Rollingwood subdivision, Town Center, Walnut Trails, Beach, Brookshore Park subdivision, and Westfield Village as well. We received 4 bids. PT Farrell submitted a low bid with an amount of $33,113,975.08. If you look a little bit back on their progress here and their work with the village, they completed our resurfacing contracts in the year 2020, 2021, and also 2022. Our fiscal year 2023-2024 budget request is approximately $3.15 million for construction. So if this is approved, this item will be committed in our next fiscal budget and cannot be removed. Staff is recommending the village board accept the bid proposal and award the contract to PT Farrell for our 2023 MFT contract in the amount of $3,113,975.08, and authorize execution of the contract consistent with the bid documents. Any questions?
As discussed during the budget hearing, as Noriel mentioned, we did have 3.15 budgeted for repavement, so we did come in under budget, which is always a plus to hear. So, and we're getting as much pavement done as we were anticipating. So at least there's not a big overage there. Any additional questions?
I still haven't gotten all the answers that I want on this issue, okay? You know, because of the additional amount of roadway, and as you stated, it was based on the additional cost of asphalt, okay? I looked into the cost of asphalt, and the numbers don't match to me. So the only thing that I would request is I would just like to have a little more time. Is this absolutely necessary to be done tonight?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you on the timing on that one.
I mean, you know, I can be overridden. It usually happens. But I would like another couple of weeks to talk to a few people on this issue.
Just for record, even the second low bid was only within $10,000.
No, I'm not
Okay.
going with the bid, I'm going with the amount
Of pavement to be done?
of repairs to be done. And we're talking about another fifth. But I think last year's budget was 1.3.
Last year's budget was
1.8.
1.8 million.
Yeah, okay, 1.8. This is 3.1. That's a considerable jump. And I just have some more questions. If we'd like to pass this tonight, because, you know, I believe you. I'm not looking for, you know, I'm not witch hunting here. I would just like to be made more comfortable with it, okay?
If I may, to a little bit of the differences between the two besides just the length itself. Yes, we only did approximately 1.8 million, which was about I think it was 4.6, 4.7 miles last year. But if you think about the roadways that we did last year, a lot of them targeted in the roadways without curbs. So they were 20, 22 feet wide.
Yeah.
When we're targeting many of the roadways that, such as Walnut Trails, Town Center over here, Rolling Wood subdivision to Breckenridge, we're pushing almost 31 feet width in pavement as well. So the width itself, when we talk about square footage of asphalt that is, and tonnage that is associated with 5.3 miles of roadway, there is a significant jump in asphalt tonnage simply because of the square footage that we are doing compared to last year.
Okay. And our MFT, how much did we get on our MFT, the
Yeah.
motor fuel tax?
We're budgeting about $700,000 for the next year, but also recall that we have, over the last 3 years, we've received $1.15 million in Rebuild Illinois funds. So we've had this money. It came in 6 disbursements across 3 years. It's been sitting in the bank, waiting for a project to use it on. It's a narrower scope of project that we're allowed to use these funds on, and this project was designed to meet that criteria. So $1.1 million worth of this project is money that's allocated to something exactly like this, that we can't do other things with.
It's either use it or lose it? Is that what I'm hearing?
In so much, yes.
Well, no, either we use it or we lose
Right.
it.
Over time, we'll lose it, and it's a narrow scope of what we can use it on, and we tailored this project for it.
So this is Pritzker's Rebuild Illinois program. Okay.
Correct.
And then to add to this, almost all of Walnut Trails, the east side that we're proposing, is all full depth. So it's not just a normal 2.5-inch grind and overlay. We're
Right,
using
okay.
that for full depth.
But this isn't gonna be every year.
No,
No,
We're gonna
no.
go for, you know, because over the last 30 years, you know, the bill's constantly gone up. And the fact is, we've taken money out of the enterprise fund in order to put more money into the roads, so we didn't get like a lot of the other communities that let their roads go. I mean, it was designed, planned, but when I saw a number like that, you gotta admit, it was a little shocking to me, okay? To jump from 1.8 to 3.1 million without a lot of reasoning behind it. In other words, need. Okay? So, but if it's use it or lose it, I'm with you guys. Let's use it,
Thank you.
okay?
I've got a question then. Sure. You said met the criteria this year. How come it didn't meet it last year? What's the difference between
Yeah.
that money being able to have been used last year versus this year?
Right, we were waiting until we had received the entirety of the funds to use it at a project at one time, and the last disbursement came last summer, after we would have done the regular road project. So I think the timeline to spend those funds is December 31st of 25, 24, 25.
So there wasn't a difference in the project, it was just waiting for more money,
Right.
the rest of the money?
So now that we've received everything, we'll spend it at once.
Okay.
We have a little over 2 million towards it,
1.1 million,
plus the 700 that you
Yeah.
said we had, so we're close to 2 million.
correct.
Where's the other money coming from?
That's a transfer in from our capital funds.
We fund that.
Yeah.
And then were there any other special requirements for MFT you want to touch on that were required, especially regarding using the the rebuild money?
So some of the requirements is that we had to, of course, rather than what we call a shave and pave, just doing 2.5-inch grind, some of the requirements, we have to actually do pavement designs through Christopher Burke, and they have to submit that to IDOT. These pavement designs have to meet certain criteria for us. And such Walnut Trails, many of those locations that we're doing full depth asphalt, which increases the tonnage, that is all part of that Rebuild Illinois.
And that was one of my things. I had a couple of calls into Brian and never got called back, so.
We'll make sure you get a memo on that, so at least it's, that way you got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to just talk to him about it, okay?
Sure.
But other than that, I'm okay.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion for approval of bid award to PT Farrell Construction for the 2023 MFT resurfacing project in the amount of $3,113,975.08, and authorize execution of contract consistent with the bid documents.
Second.
Motion Luciano, second Kirkland. Roll call, please.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
And Luciano.
Yes.
All right, item number 3 is approved. Item number 4, consideration for an approval of an IDOT resolution in the amount of $800,000 to authorize the appropriation of funds for the improvement under the Illinois Highway Code 2023 MFT resurfacing project. Mr. Norio.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, as Director Burkholder had mentioned, we're using a multiple of different funding. We're using the Rebuild Illinois, we're using MFT in our locals. So as part of the requirements to utilize MFT under the Illinois Highway Code, we must authorize through a resolution the appropriation of our MFT funding. So staff is recommending approval of the resolution in the amount of $800,000 to authorize the appropriation of MFT funds for the village's resurfacing contract. Any questions?
This is obviously more of a housekeeping issue. We do this every year, so unless anybody's got any questions, we'll take a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion for the approval of an IDOT resolution in the amount of $800,000 to authorize the appropriation of funds for the improvement under the Illinois Highway Code 2023 MFT resurfacing project.
I'll second.
Motion Selfridge, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, item number 4 is approved. Item number 5 will be consideration for approval of an IDOT resolution in the amount of $1,152,990 to authorize the appropriation of the Rebuild Illinois funds for the 2023 MFT resurfacing project. This goes back to the Public Works Director. I believe this is pretty self-explanatory for everybody. This is obviously the ordinance appropriating the Rebuild Illinois funds. Unless anybody has any additional questions regarding those funds, take a motion.
I'll make a motion for an approval of an IDOT resolution in the amount of $1,152,990,000 to authorize the appropriation of RBI funds for the 2023 MFT resurfacing project.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yeah, I'll go with my inflationary vote. Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item number 5 is approved. Item number 6 will be consideration for approval of a proposal for professional engineering services with Seco Consultants for material testing for the 2023 MFT resurfacing project not to exceed $20,000. Obviously, this is testing for said project and the previous 3 ordinances. Are there any questions regarding a testing procedure? If not, take a motion to approve.
I move to approve a proposal for professional engineering services with Seco Consultants for material testing services for the 2023 MFT resurfacing project in the amount not to exceed $20,000.
Second.
Motion Kirkland, second Luciano. Roll call, please.
Chapman?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
And Carroll.
Yes.
All right, item number 6 is approved. That wraps up all of our MFT discussion. So that project is approved and will get on its way. Item number 7 will be consideration for approval to order a tenant T16 floor cleaner from Standard Equipment in the amount of $39,690.37. Public Works Director Noriel will give you the details on this.
Thank you, Mayor. So our Public Works garage is 65,000 square feet. It's, that's a lot of floor space pushing a broom. So we tested a number of different brands, we tested a number of different models, different sizes. We picked the one that we like is the Tenant T16. It fits all of our needs and satisfies what we're gonna need for our public works. It's small enough to fit and maneuver in many of our crevices over at the garage, and it's also big enough to clean our garage in a timely fashion. However, it is a 6 to 8 month lead time for delivery. Standard Equipment is extending our government pricing that they provide to other municipalities. We have been a good customer of theirs. They've been a very good vendor. We did purchase the Vector from them recently and also our sweeper. Because of our good long-standing relationship and they saw our need, they're also providing a free rental for us for the next 6 to 8 months. So we can rent their own T16 or their own floor cleaner to clean our facility. The rental agreement provides 3 days right before our Public Works open house. So then it also provides up to 2 days every other week as we see fit. And we're gonna go pick it up, so there's no delivery charges as well. Our proposed fiscal year budget requests $40,000 for this purchase. The village board approves. This order will be committed in our next budget and cannot be removed. Staff is recommending village board approve the order for a Tenant T16 floor cleaner from Standard Equipment in the amount of $39,690.37. Any questions?
Do we have, so I'm appreciative that they're willing to let us use the one until the one that we buy arrives. Is the need, and I like the idea, we'll go get it, we can send somebody to go get it, but do we need to go every other week to do this?
No, it's up to
Okay.
us.
Can we maybe spread that out a little bit?
Of course.
At least I'm glad to keep the facility clean, but I don't know that we need to send somebody to go get it every other week.
The offer is there if we need it.
Okay, as long as we know the offer is there, I just don't want to, I don't want anybody to understand that there's a firm commitment that we're sending somebody every other week to go pick up a tool. I mean, as long as we know it's there coming out of the winter, you know, I'm glad that it'll be there before the open house. We'll get the place cleaned up. And then maybe once a month or something for a little bit, you know, the property, you know, the building can stay in check. I guess in the meantime, if there's something out of line, a couple of guys with brooms, I guess we'll have to do for right now, right?
Understood.
That's just my 2 cents on it. Again, I'm appreciative that they're gonna let us use one, but I just don't wanna make a firm commitment that we're driving back and forth to go pick up one until ours has arrived. That's my 2 cents on that. Any other comments, feel free.
I have
Or
one.
questions, by all means. Yeah.
What is the justification for not obtaining quotations for this machine? That's a lot of money to just buy from somebody over to the counter.
We
Sure.
did
Go ahead.
receive a couple quotes, okay? So, for, of course, the other brands, the other models, different sizes, the good news is that staff worked hard. We did receive a quote from another vendor today in the amount of $40,893.79. So it's just a tad higher and no free rental.
You got that today after we talked on the phone, I guess, right?
Noriel, what's the life expectancy of this equipment? Do you know?
As long as we maintain it, it's battery operated, so the batteries itself is the one that would go first. So that's expected to be 7 to 10 years for the battery life. For the equipment itself, there will be continuing to maintain it, I would say close to 15, 20 years, as long as again, the majority of the time it'll be used indoors. It's also small enough, we can bring it over here to Village Hall to do some floor sweeping as well. I anticipate it at least 15 to 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
Are they using this inside the finished part of it as well?
So we have epoxy, so yes, we could use it inside as well if we need to.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was wondering if we need to buy it. I'm not saying we don't need the machine, but if you're saying, based on what you just said, once a month, it seems an awful big expenditure for once a month when we can lease it.
Well, I'm supportive of it. I'm supportive of them having it, and I would like to see it done, as a routine housekeeping issue to keep that building pristine and in tip-top shape. But my concern, of course, is sending staff until the purchase arrives. That's why I think in the meantime, look, if the shop floors are getting dirty, we're going to have to, our staff's going to have to sweep them up or try to mop up certain areas to keep the place in check until we get the scrubber back and do a little more of a thorough cleaning. I'm very supportive of this and keeping the building clean.
Against it, what I'm saying is, have we done a study comparing buying it as opposed to leasing it once a month? I looked up at Sunbelt and they only lease that same machine for $555. And in some cases, I think Noriel mentioned in here that if you pick it up on a Friday, that they don't have to bring it back till Monday. So you actually got 2 days use out of it.
Plus the overtime of the staff, though.
Well, they can do it Friday and Monday.
Perhaps.
But in any case, did we do any study to compare cost?
So when we look at it, that's $550 per day that we would rent it from Sunbelt. That's just one example. Or we can rent it for $1,700 for the week, or up to $2,600 for the month. When we do our cleaning, it is not anticipated for us to maneuver all of our equipment out of the garage at one time to be able to clean the entire garage at a time. So owning it will allow us to do the garage in bits and pieces versus trying to find homes and maneuvering it. That's a big endeavor for staff to pick up, besides just driving all of our equipment out of the garage itself, and then being able to pick up everything and moving it from one side to the other. This allows us to break it up so that we have it, we can do our weekly cleans section by section and keep up with that need.
You're saying you're only using it 2 days with the free rental?
For the free rental, yes.
Right. So what I'm saying is we're gonna spend $40,000, and we're gonna have to maintain it, whereas if we lease it once a month, we don't have any maintenance at all. We get a new machine that's new every time. We don't have to worry about maintenance or anything on it. I mean, that's just my opinion on it. I just don't see putting out that kind of money when we can lease it. And we didn't have a study to show the comparison of what it looks like over a 4-year period, renting as opposed to buying it.
I don't know that you need a study to determine whether you want to keep your floors clean,
Look
but.
at it.
No, it's lease versus buy, I think is what he's saying, right? That's all.
He's referencing a study. I mean, we're not going to engage.
Oh, no, is it
Oh.
more feasible to lease versus to buy, I think?
Well, I mean, at some point, you're going to want to own the asset. I think I believe it's just more beneficial for the village to own the asset. So, go ahead.
My 2 cents, because I've personally seen it, like cleaning companies, and I don't know if that would be an option, because we just did a cleaning contract that does the front area of the public works. But I've seen them where the cleaning company, they provide that cleaner. Then they use the sweeper at night, right? Because the cleaning crew comes at night. And then they could run the sweeper, and then we don't own it. That's just part of their equipment that they store at the facility.
Right, but that's a big cost. Now, again, that's 65,000 square feet. I don't have that number from our cleaning company. that would be something that I'd have to ask for.
So staff using it wouldn't be using it at night, they'd just be using it during normal
Right.
daily operations?
You spend $1,000 a month to lease it? Is that what?
It pays for itself in less than a year.
It pays
yeah.
for itself in 3 years, right? That's $36,000
right.
in 36 months, it's 3 years.
But it's just a point that we still have to maintain it. You don't know what might go wrong with it.
Right.
But we take that burden on maintaining all of our equipment from Public Works, from dump trucks to backhoes to our water system, the maintenance aspect is just the cost of operations for us. It's an unfortunate inherent expense that we all have.
Well, can we look at the different alternatives we just talked about as far as leasing and, is this something we have to do right away?
Well,
You
For
don't
me,
have to, but, again,
next
he just
meeting-
referenced, sure, we don't have to take action on it, of course, but, he just referenced that if you lease it, or your monthly fee or whatever it is for the month is $1,500 a month or whatnot.
Well, we don't know that.
You don't know that for sure.
No,
He's
he's not talking about the
He
same
just gave you a
thing.
rental number.
Yeah.
He has it right there.
That's a rental, not a lease. It's,
You're not gonna vary too much on some of these.
Was it possible just to check that out for? until
If you
next-
wanna make a motion to table the item, sure.
Well, if it's something that he needs right away, I'm not concerned, but he's not gonna do anything with it anyway, right now. They just got the building, how big could it be?
It's dirty.
it's dirty. If I may, the one thing though, the reason why I'm pushing it a little bit is that we have a Public Works open house. I'd love to be able to clean the garage before then. If we table this, okay, I understand, I'll do more due diligence, but then I have to rent the piece of equipment to, clean the garage for the open house, and 3 days worth of, rental right there is a week's worth, and we're looking at already $1,700. And that's the Sunbelt quote.
Either take a motion to approve or motion to table. Somebody make a decision and move on. I say buy it. But it's up to the board as to what you guys want to do.
I move to approve to order a tenant T16 floor cleaner from Standard Equipment in the amount of $39,690.37.
Second.
Motion Kirkland, second Brockman. Roll call, please.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Luciano.
No,
Selfridge.
No.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
no.
Chapman.
Yes.
Yes.
I have 3 to 3.
Bought. All right, item number 8, consideration for approval of proposal for professional engineering services with Christopher Burke Engineering for Phase 2 design engineering services for the Valencia Drive Linwood Court Water Main Replacement Project in the amount not to exceed $98,738. Public Works Director Noriega.
Thank you, Mayor. So continuing with our alternative source water program, our next replacement is, that we're proposing is along Valencia, and it also includes Linwood Court. Our existing 6 and 8-inch ductile iron main was installed in the 1970s and is in poor condition. Our project includes a replacement of approximately 2,200 linear feet of new water main, including new valves, new hydrants, and also ADA sidewalk repairs that we will do at the intersections. Seabell continues to be a good partner in helping us through with our alternative source water program. This Phase 2 design will be completed by the end of 2023 with a bid date around the same time. Construction will not start until early 2024 and will be part of our future fiscal year 2024-2025 budget request. Staff is recommending approval of the proposal for professional engineering services from Christopher Burke for Phase 2 design of our Valencia Linwood water main replacement in an amount not to exceed $98,738. Any questions?
Any questions on the Phase 2 design for Valencia Drive?
I'll make a motion for approval of a proposal for professional engineering services with Christopher Burke Engineering for Phase 2 design engineering services for the Valencia Drive Linwood Court water main replacement project in the amount not to exceed $98,738.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Kirkland. Roll call, please.
Luciano,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Kirkland.
Yes.
All right, item number 8's been approved. Item number 9 is consideration for approval of an ordinance amending the Village of Shorewood Code of Ordinances with respect to water and sewer rate uses. This item is up for a first read. Ms. Burkholder.
Thank you. This is the follow-up to the conversation we had at the budget workshop about our water and sewer rates. The budget, as it's proposed in the next item, is presented with these rate changes implemented. The water rate will increase by 90 cents per 1,000 gallons, and that will all be allocated to the Lake Water Fund. The sewer rate will be increased by $1 per 1,000 gallons, and that will be allocated to operations. Of course, we do have the ongoing water and sewer rate study, so depending on the outcome of that, we may be back over the course of the fiscal year to make an adjustment, or it may be possible that we wait until the following fiscal year, depending on the guidance provided in the water and sewer rate study. The other item that came up after the budget workshop was the new bulk water filling station at the Public Works facility. This filling station will replace the current process with the hydrant meters that are distributed after a user pays a deposit. And that bulk water rate is currently $5.75 per 1,000 gallons, which is lower than the volumetric rate for any other water going through the village, and of course doesn't include that flat fee that metered users are currently paying. The recommendation is to make the bulk water rate 150% of the regular water rate so that they change in tandem, and that it doesn't get overlooked when we're amending water rates in the future. But I'd be happy to take any questions on the topic.
Any idea on how much bulk water we sell a year? Just on an average ballpark?
I don't know, to be honest.
It's not much. They'll pay a $2,000 deposit on a hydrant meter and get $1,925 back. It's not a whole heck of a lot, but having the station gives Noriel and his team some control over where that water's being pumped from, and it's not at any meter anywhere in town.
We're not getting semis in here filling up?
We do
From time to
sometimes.
time, we will.
Yes. So that's part of the issue. We have to be concerned about our unbilled water, and we want to make sure that we have controls on that and people aren't stealing water. So what we want to do is prevent people from getting it out of hydrants at all. That way, if anybody sees people at hydrants other than the fire department or our own people, we're going to make that known, so that we want people to call us. We want all these partners to come to us, to our water filling station on Mound Road, and get it all. The other reason is we don't want people opening and closing our hydrants, because sometimes they crank down the hydrant and it sends a shimmy through the line, and that causes some water main breaks for us. So we're trying to streamline all this monetarily, procedurally, and cut down on a lot of other problems.
You're saying again, who do you want at your hydrants only? Because I see.
Just the police department, or the fire department, and our public works people. We don't want anybody else on our hydrants anymore.
Okay, I'll let you know after the meeting then.
Appreciate that.
But I'm glad to see this, this bump of 1.5 times.
So this would prohibit the hydrant filling, right? You have to go to the bulk station
You
now.
got to go out west.
Okay.
Yeah, we
And then
do
they can
not want
monitor
people
it.
touching our hydrants. Correct.
Agreed, yeah, okay.
Do you have any feedback thus far from the water and the study thus far?
Yeah, great question. Actually, we had a conversation with that Stantec, the company performing the study, a week ago today, if I'm not mistaken. We had a Zoom call together, and it took about an hour and a half, and they went line by line and showed us what they've done. It's an astounding level of intricacy. I was very impressed by how into the weeds they've gotten on this. The feedback so far is that we're on a pretty good pace, especially relative to what we've done for our future lake water project. They were, very impressed by what we had been able to accomplish so far. Of course, we know those operational rates funding, water and sewer regular operations. We hadn't touched those rates in a little while, and we knew that. And then they're also looking at our capital fees and what our capital fees specific to water and sewer, those tap-on fees.
Sure.
And how, how they pair with other revenues we get into that fund and what our capital needs are gonna look like going out to, through the next 10 years. So, I think it's fair to say they're about 30 to 60 days out from having us some real results, but preliminarily, we're all on the same page, and I think we're gonna get a really good product out of this study.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions regarding the ordinance amending the water and sewer user rates?
I'll make a motion for approval of an ordinance amending the Village of Shorewood Code of Ordinances with respect to water and sewer user rates and waive the second read.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Kirkland. Roll call, please.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
and Luciano.
Yes.
All right, item number 9 is approved. Item number 10 would be consideration for approval of resolution adopting the Village of Shorewood's budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. Back to the Finance Director.
Thank you. This is the budget presented for our fiscal year that begins April 1st of 2023 and goes through March 31st of 2024. We went through this at our budget workshop back a month ago, and none of the numbers have changed since that time. The document has been finalized with the narrative explanations, and if you choose to approve it this evening, we'll get going having hard copies made up. Be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Burkholder on the budget? Not, take a motion to approve.
Move to approve a resolution adopting the Village of Shorewood budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024.
I'll second.
Motion Kirkland, second Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Brockman,
Yes.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kirkland,
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
and Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, item number 10 is approved. Business item number 11, consideration for approval and ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 11, Section 302 of the Code of Ordinances for the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. This is in reference to Earl Road and Geneva Street. This item had been presented one other time for a first read. There was some additional time to review it as done, and at this point, we'll turn it over to Ms. Engel for further discussion.
Sure. So last month I was here talking to you about Earl and Geneva roads and whether we should post those as no parking. We had some really good questions about how some of the properties were functioning, especially the ones that are owned by Block Electric. So we actually took that month as an opportunity to go out there a number of times and check out the site, check out how the parking was working, and talk to the key players. There was a lot of concern about Rhino Baseball and whether they had adequate parking, because there were several parents who were parking on the streets. This was causing some concern on the part of the truck drivers and the owners really of the trucking companies who were concerned about potential traffic conflicts. I did talk to the Dynasty Baseball folks, and they actually told me that they were very concerned with the fact that they have people parking on the street, and they're continuously reminding their people that they need to park on the lot. They said that they really have their first classes starting at 5 p.m., and most of the businesses are out of there between 4 and 5, so there's ample parking, and they've actually even considered posting in front of their building, no parking on the street, because they think it's safer for the people to park in the lot. We did notice that one of the companies that's in there, Zero Auto Warehouse, was violating their conditional use. They're supposed to only have a few cars parked outside in a back specific area, and they had cars parked up against the building that were taking up some of the parking spaces, so we've contacted them and asked them to start following it. They've got a few too many cars on the property, and they need to be parking them inside or in a very small area behind. Other than that, I did speak with the property owner of Block Electric, and, he was all for it. He didn't have any concerns or objections. I actually spoke to the CFO, who's in charge of all the land stuff. We've talked to the folks over at 301 Earl because they've got some trailers parking in front, and they sometimes occasionally have a trailer dropped in front of their building. We've told them they're not allowed to be dropping uncoupled trailers in front of the building, and they actually brought up some of the concerns with the potential conflicts with the kids jumping out of the car to go to to go to Dynasty Baseball. So bringing it forward to you guys to see if you think it would be good to post it no parking, and happy to answer any questions.
I don't have a question. I got several comments because I was pretty much against this last meeting. And been down there several times. Didn't realize there was turnarounds behind the buildings you can go around. There was cars parked today when I went there, and there was a semi trying to get in. What's the name of that company?
Gully Transportation.
Yeah, there was one trying to get in there, pretty difficult, causing all kinds of traffic jams and stuff. So I still think bullet point number 3 there, about trucks and parking, and anywhere we've got semis in the village, we've got problems. I don't think that'll ever get accomplished. But I would be for the no parking, though, because it is kind of dangerous when there's a bunch of them parked there. So that's all I had.
Anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns? Motion?
I'll make a motion for an approval of an ordinance amending Title 6, Chapter 11, Section 302 of Code of Ordinances for the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, Earl Road and Geneva Street parking.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Kirkland. Roll call, please.
Carol,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Kirkland.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item number 11 is approved. Item number 12 will be consideration for approval of the purchase of the hardware from CDWG for the upgrade and replacement of the existing cable broadcast and boardroom equipment in the amount of $34,543.84. And the IT director, Mr. McCluskey, is here.
Good evening. So this is for the purchase approval for equipment for the cable broadcasting room and for this boardroom. The equipment from CDW specifically is for the projector and some control panels for the new equipment that will be going in. We contracted with Sentinel to provide professional services, engineering for this project. This is a list that they generated of owner supplied equipment that we can purchase and provide to the installer, which will go through a bid process. But this is the equipment that we can purchase, get on, and get our orders in as the equipment's available now, and then provide to the installer at that time. So this equipment is, like I said, in stock, available. It kind of comes and goes. There is some supply line concerns with some of the equipment that will be needed for this project. So this is kind of a first step to getting the equipment in and available to whoever the installer ends up being. So.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. McCluskey? This was one of the IT upgrades that we've talked about trying to do a little while back. So this is one of the first steps to.
Are we gonna see something different here?
You won't see.
Or is it just an upgrade to the system that we've got?
It's an upgrade of the AV stuff. It's not a construction of the dais, no.
Okay.
It's a lot of the behind the scenes, bringing up from analog to digital equipment, replacing some of the equipment that we've had lent or donated graciously from other entities to us that we brought over when the building was at the Jefferson Street location. There's a lot of old equipment that we made we've made work, but it's definitely showing its age. So, but it's all kind of behind the scenes. You'll see the projector and some of the microphones and stuff and TV,
Yeah.
but
It's not what this young man, is this year?
It is.
Mr. Selfridge, yeah, during the roll call, he raised his hand. It was amazing. So we're not gonna be able to pump in holograms here, people are gonna talk to the board.
that is not in the scope, no.
Oh, okay.
Is what we're approving the full list, whether it's available or not?
No.
This is
not at
just
this time.
available.
This is just what's available currently, yes.
Is it quick enough where, like, when it becomes available, you're gonna come to us the next board meeting so we can get stuff while it's in stock?
Yes.
monitoring that.
Yeah,
Okay, and we can't,
we're
like,
still working with Sentinel
pre-approval
about
this?
some of the other stuff that we need.
Okay,
Equipment is not available to us to purchase as the end user. When we go to the bid process for the installer and programmer portion of this,
Yeah.
there'll be elements that they can provide as they have resources to provide that equipment where we can't necessarily get a hold of it. So we're going to try and get as 99% of the equipment that we can and then rely on the installers for the rest.
okay.
When are we going to bid to the installers?
So this week, we'll have the schematics in from Sentinel Engineering. And then as we purchase this equipment, that checks off a good portion of this. And then that gives us an idea of what we need from the installer programmers to provide. And we'll have a better picture of that once we purchase this equipment and figure out what other equipment we might be able to get a hold of or what we need to depend on them to put in their bid proposal.
In the near future.
Yeah.
That's the polite way of saying near future.
And the estimated completion for this project is,
I would like to see June, July, but a lot depends on availability of the equipment and the amount of, and the bidders, so.
okay, thanks.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the purchase of the hardware from CDWG for the upgrade and replacement of existing cable broadcast and boardroom equipment in the amount of $34,543.84.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Kirkland. Roll call, please.
Chapman?
Yes.
Kirkland?
Yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
And Carroll.
Yes.
Item 12 is approved. Final item for the agenda here would be consideration of approval of the purchase of the equipment from B&H Photo for the upgrade and replacement of the existing cable broadcast and boardroom equipment in the amount of $80,813.69. And Mr. McCluskey is going to explain this as well.
So this is another portion of the cable broadcasting equipment. This is equipment that B&H has in stock, is available, and they can provide to a end user client. This includes speakers, some of the control systems, as well as the main mixer control panel that Jim uses in back.
And this gets rid of the humming.
It helps
Yeah.
get rid of the hum.
Please,
There
Some
is
of
an
this
element
gets-
in here that affects the audio quality, yes, but project will take care of the humming.
Get an ant
Does
product,
that bother you?
just a little, us and the 7 others that watch it. Okay.
If they fix the humming and you still hear humming, then that's on you. They have to,
Oh, okay.
okay.
I'll make a motion for the approval of the purchase of equipment from B&H Photo for the upgrade and replacement of existing cable broadcast and boardroom equipment in the amount of $80,813.69.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Luciano. Roll call, please.
Kirkland?
Yes.
Luciano? Selfridge?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
All right, that concludes the order of business. With that, we'll move over to department reports. Building, Mr. Dash.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report.
No problem. Community development.
Thank you. So on March 22nd, we're going to have a large meeting here in the boardroom. The Planning and Zoning Commission will have their public hearing on the comprehensive plan and the Parks and Rec master plan. We had to reschedule that from March 1st, so we're going to have it on next Wednesday. We've set it up as a board meeting as well, so if you'd like to attend and participate, you're welcome to, and we don't have to worry about the Open Meetings Act. So they'll have that public hearing. The Planning and Zoning Commission will make the recommendation, and then they'll go on to do 2 other items. They'll have the public hearings for the Troy Fire District, property we talked about today, and they'll also look at the 2023 zoning map, which is very similar to the 2022 zoning map, so that should go well. And then we expect, if everything goes well with the comprehensive plan and the rec plan, we'll bring that to you at the following meeting for approval. We also, let's see, we're moving along with our website update. That's going fairly well. We've met with all the departments. We've talked about all the content and how we're going to lay that out. And we've started to do some work on the design, so that's moving along quickly. We also are happy to announce that we received notice of getting the OSLAD grant for Rivers Edge Park. We haven't received the money yet, but we are on the list for the full $600,000 grant. So we're excited about that. That's all I've got.
Very good. Thank you. Finance.
No report.
Thank you. As everybody's aware, and kind of highlight a little bit from the sewer and water rate study. I know that's been a big thing running around down there, so. Parks.
Good evening. Thank you, Natalie, for mentioning the OZED grant. We are certainly excited for that. Open registration for our community garden did start on Monday. If people are interested in getting a plot, though, I recommend that you stop by Suite 201 at Village Hall this week, as we do only have a handful of plots remaining. Our Easter events are coming up at the end of this month. We have our flashlight Easter egg hunt on Friday, March 31st. That will be at the Sled Hill at Seeney's Four Seasons Park at 8 p.m. for ages 9 to 13. And then we have our children's Easter egg hunt April 1st at 10:30 at Seeney's Four Seasons Park for 3 to 8-year-olds. We are also partnering with Shorewood Hugs this year for their Hugs for Hounds annual doggy Easter egg hunt. That will also take place on the 1st, following the children's egg hunt at 11. And if you're interested in more information for that, you do have to register, so visit their website, shorewoodhugs.org. And we are also doing our annual breakfast with the Easter Bunny on April 1st, but that did sell out in record time this year, so tickets are no longer available. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Just one quick item. This past weekend, members of the police department and employees from here at Village Hall, including Katie Fitzpatrick, jumped into the cold water for the polar plunge and raised over $3,000 for our Special Olympics athletes here in Illinois. Did a great job. I didn't jump because somebody had to take a picture, and that was me taking the picture. Any questions? That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Public Works?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to be quick. So our well number 9 project is well underway again. They are reinstalling our pump and motor and column pipe this week. Hopefully by the next week, we'll be testing and putting that back into operations. Public Works staff is continuing to do our tree trimming program throughout the entire village. We did complete also what we call the Walk of Shame, so we picked up a lot of garbage and litter along Frontage Road. Our next areas were going to be along Northwest Frontage Road, also including along River Road. We've taken our salt delivery this year as well. If you see you guys out there, we are filling our dome again. And we are preparing and cleaning for our Public Works open house on March 25th from 10 to 2, so we'd like to see everyone out there. Thank you.
In regards to your trash collection, I did hit a couple of phone calls that day actually thanking the village for addressing trash along the Frontage Road. So I do want to share that it doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you.
With that, to the administrator.
No report.
All right, trustees' comments. Trustee Brockman.
Thank you, Mayor. Natalie kind of explained our next Wednesday's meeting, and I do have one question. Do we have an April meeting?
At this point, we do not, but there are a couple of projects that may make it. So,
Okay.
most likely not.
And council, I don't think we'll have a ruckus next Wednesday, so I don't think you have to come, so.
I'll be thinking about you.
Okay, appreciate it.
Wonderful.
That's it for my report, thank you.
No problem. Trustee Carroll.
No comment.
No problem. Trustee Chapman.
Nothing.
No problem. Thank you. Trustee Kirkland.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I'm so excited that we're finally moving forward with the broadcast equipment. It is so long overdue, and it's just going to be so nice. So that's all I have.
No problem. Thank you. Trustee Luciano.
Just wanted to mention that the, excuse me, Citizens Advisory Committee will be meeting Thursday, March 23rd at 7 p.m. at Village Hall. And as always, if anyone's interested in getting involved with the committee, they can contact myself or any of the members. And that's all I have. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you. And Trustee Selfridge.
Just a quick thank you to my son Jake, whose baseball practice was cut short, and he asked himself if to come to this meeting because he was interested in coming. So.
Oh, yay, Jake.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion Kirkland, second Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Kirkland.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Jake, have you